Good morning, respected Bishop, Right Reverend Dr. P.K. Samuel, and dignitaries on the dais, my dear students and teachers. It's a great privilege for me to be here amidst you. This is a great school. It's one of the finest schools, and you rank one of the 3 top-ranked schools in India. And I feel really proud to be here at this moment. It's one of the oldest schools, it's around a century exactly before my birth. And in this school, the boys are shaped in every angle to shine and excel in all fields, be it technology, be it sports, and be it any other development of character or leadership. I feel also privileged to witness this event called Synchronize, which is pushing the students beyond the classroom learning. And I love these such events because these events are all bringing together people who believe in the same thing. Actually, we have come here, all of us have showed up here for the same reasons, because of creativity. We love creativity, we love science, and we have come here to exchange ideas, to exhibit talents, to showcase creativity, and to enjoy together, to be together. So the very survival of human race depends on our ability to surround ourselves with people who believe what we believe. When we surround ourselves with people who believe what we believe, what happens? We exhibit our best. We bring out our best. And when respected Bishop called me, he sent me all your events, and all of them are too unique, and it has the motive of pushing the students beyond a closed science into an open ground of imagination and creativity. And Richard Riley, he was a secretary of Clinton, Education Department for Clinton, and he made one famous statement. He said, "We are currently preparing students for jobs that do not exist with technologies that we have not yet invented to solve the problems that we are not sure when it will come into existence." So I think Synchronize aims currently to prepare students to get those jobs that do not yet exist with technologies that are not yet invented in order to help and solve problems that we are not sure when it will come. And how can we invent such technologies that create exciting jobs? How are scientific discoveries made? Where do good ideas come from? Do we all need to be an Einstein or a Newton before we discover something new about the world around us? Or perhaps training and educating your mind to find out something different can help? I believe that we are all explorers. Science is not a closed box, it's an open field. Imagination and creativity in science underscores the importance of scientists as creative thinkers. Scientists who make such world-changing discoveries just think a little bit harder, just have a little bit different creative ideas than the rest. That's all. They are just a little bit, they think more on what we normally see. Their curiosity changed the way people thought about the world. It changed the world. Their thought process changed the world, and so you can do the same. Mark Victor Hansel said, "Imagination is one of the greatest precious assets." It's very important what your mind is dwelling upon, what your mind is often thinking upon. What's your passion? The simple process to focus on things that are normally taken for granted, the willingness to stop and look at things that no one else have ever thought about it, that is creativity. Winston Churchill said, "If everybody is thinking the same thing, then somebody is not thinking." Over the years, I have learned the importance of creativity, knowledge, and imagination. They have a symbiotic relationship, one leg on another. There are only very few people who are creative because they dare to be become different. In my opinion, it's so beautiful to see people to be on themselves. If you are different than the rest of the world, what's the problem? You are unique. There is no need to fit into somebody else's mold. It took a long while for me to understand this concept. Why fit in when you are made to stand apart, stand out? I see many people trying to change who they are to please others or to look cool. It's great to be a Fruit Loop in a world filled with Cheerios. It took me a long while for that, but when I understood that I am nobody else. I can stand out. I have a question for you. Who do you think are more creative, a scientist or an artist? Artist? I will give you two examples. The first example is a pair of scientists and an artist. One is Freeman Dyson. How many of you have heard? He's one of the greatest creative scientists, a mathematician, physicist. He's still living. He's 94. He was along with Einstein and other people. And you know, he was totally different. He has made a name for himself to challenge everything what other fellow scientists have agreed upon. For that, he has got into every sort of fields. When he was young in England, he said, when he was growing up, everybody were after football or everybody were after shooting guns. He was telling, we are like endangered species who are after reading books. We are into the threatened minority. He dared to be different. And he said that still now I am the same. And at 94, he's now coming up with beautiful, speculative, peculiar ideas. Have you heard about Dyson tree? Dyson sphere. Dyson sphere, he gives a beautiful sphere. You can go and Google it. Dyson sphere, he's telling that it is megastructure. It's a hypothetical megastructure that completely encompasses a star and it captures a large amount of the star's output power. He was telling that if you try to search for such a structure, you can try to find out if there is somewhere intelligent extraterrestrial life anywhere around. And what is this Dyson tree? He's telling you can plant such engineered tree, such genetically engineered tree on comets and make a habitat for people in space. So all these are speculative ideas, have brought in fierce debate. But it's just he is putting in his ideas. So now let me come to an artist, Chuck Close. You know, he has facial blindness. If he sees you today, he cannot recognize you. He said when he was in kindergarten, he found out that his classmate, at the end of the day, he cannot recognize his face. But you know, if you stand before him, he'll take a photograph of you and he'll make a big, huge portrait of your face so beautifully. How he does it? He does it like a computer, pixel by pixel. He takes the photograph and he cuts it. He just divides it by row and row and then he works on it a small area till he gets a beautiful face which can be recognized by others except him. So now you tell me, Freeman Dyson or Chuck Close, who is more creative? Both of them, right? Even science needs more creativity. That's why you are all here. And another pair, I would say, Michelangelo and Albert Einstein. I could not think any better example than this Einstein, who exemplifies in science, imagination and creativity. In 1905, he wanted to get a job. He made in one single year 4 papers that changed the level of physics, everything, forever after that. That 4 papers showed about the existence of atoms, of photons, the equivalence between mass and energy, and the concept of space and time. In November 1915, he came up, used his imagination, not mathematics, to come up with a beautiful equation, general theory of relativity, that changed the profound understanding of cosmos itself forever. So that is Einstein. And next, he said one time, he's not a stereotypic scientist, he's a creative thinker. He said, knowledge is limited, imagination encircles the world. Now, imagination is more important than knowledge. This is told by a scientist. And then, you know, Michelangelo's David. Have you seen that statue? It has gone beyond ages. It's remarkable, it's timeless, it's strikingly impressive. It's going beyond ages. So now imagination and creativity is central to everything. And this can be, how can you increase this creativity? It can be done by your teachers, by yourself, by your parents, by your mentors. So I wanted to say about the one more scientist, Richard Feynman. When Richard Feynman was young, he was walking with his father with a truck and a wagon and a ball. So he was observing, he was quite young. The ball was moving at the back of the wagon when he was pulling it. And when it stopped, it came to the front. So he asked his father, "Dad, what's happening like that?" His father said, "It's inertia." That he said, he's crediting his greatest, he got the Nobel Prize in Physics for his Feynman diagrams, which describes the movement of subatomic particles. So he's crediting his conversation with his father to that, all these things. I know you can speak in the class with your teachers, with your parents, and each and every small question can push you to the beyond the imagination. So be careful what you're questioning. Think about it. Think outside the box. It is not that what you're thinking, it's you should think beyond the box. Richard Feynman, when he was young, he used to fix radios. Once his neighbor came to him and he said, "My radio is, all the time when it starts with a big roar." So Richard Feynman just took the radio and he didn't even work on it. He was walking here and there. So the neighbor was intrigued. After some time he asked, "What's happening?" "I'm thinking." Then after a few minutes, he came back, he took everything, he reversed all the tubes and he put it back and the radio worked. So the neighbor went on telling everybody, he thinks and makes the radios okay. That's just a little boy who stops to think and find out what is wrong. That is creativity, that is science. So I encourage you today to do the similar thing. Actually, I would like to, when Bishop called me to this function, I just took that pamphlet and I was really, my mind was blowing beyond. So it was about dinosaurs, it was about dodos, Darwin, electronic skills, cryptography, it was about your robots, walking robots, and even about pushing ideas, bringing in ideas to make interplanetary species, and mind-blowing. And we are in an information age, right? Or computer age. You know, when the first computer, when the computers was Newman, he was developing his computers. That was the ancient of today's desktop and PCs. He never dreamt a 3-year-old kid will have a computer right now in his hand. Nowadays, computers, the fastness and the complexity behind it are growing every time, twice in every 2 years. You know, now the main thought is biocomputers. It's made of RNA, DNA and proteins, and it can do some mathematical calculation. It can do work as per the doctors and medics, whomever said based on that implantation. So I think I might expect something today to see like biocomputers. And what took me apart, you know, Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes and Watson and your crimes, and I think some groups are coming for that. And I think you remember the story by Sherlock Holmes and Watson. I would like to finish with that story. I think most of you know Sherlock Holmes and Watson were on a camping trip. So when they went on a camping trip, they had nice liquid refreshments and they went to sleep. They had a nice sound sleep under a starry, beautiful sky under a tent. So in the middle of the night, Holmes wakes up and he just nudges Watson with his rib, and he's telling, "Watson, Watson, wake up! What do you see?" "Watson, I saw stars and stars and more stars." What all these things are telling you? All these things are telling me that tomorrow might be a beautiful day meteorologically. And astronomically it tells me there are millions and millions of galaxies and potentially there are millions of planets. Astrologically I observe that Saturn is in Leo, and horologically I deduce might be time is 3:15. And theologically I feel God is all powerful, I'm just a dot in a big huge universe. And this Watson is telling, he just looks at him, and Holmes is looking at Watson and telling, "Watson, you idiot, Somebody has taken our tent. So many times, we just think about so many great things, creativity, imagination, and science, and forget the basic fundamentals. This story reminds me, you might be in all this creativity and other things and technological upheavals. Don't forget, I want to finish in just 2 minutes, don't forget this important thing. Some may win in some of the events, and some may fail in some of the events. Winston Churchill said, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Yes. You should take failure like a scientist. It's not that because I'm a scientist I'm telling, but you should take a failure, every failure in your life as a scientist. You know, when a scientist runs an experiment, there are all sorts of results that can come. It can be negative, it can be positive. But to a scientist, all of them are data points, and it can ultimately lead to the right answer. And that's exactly how you should treat. But the society treats failure much different. For example, if you fail in a test, people believe that it is wrong. It is they are not smart enough. If they fail in a business, they feel something they are lacking. If they fail in art, they are not creative. It's not that way. They are all data points. You are learning. It's on the path of learning. And you will get success with all the data points converged together. But the second point, the last point I want to say is, one of the hardest things is to know is when to stop and when to move on. I believe telling someone never give up is a terrible advice. Successful people give up all the time. If something is not working, smart people try to repeat it in a different way. They revise, they adjust, they pivot, they quit. As the saying goes, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Life requires both strategies. Sometimes you need to display unwavering confidence and stop in your efforts. Sometimes you need something different, some strategy which is different. They aren't working, something try different. Move on. Remember the big picture. Never quit your dreams. Live your life to the fullest potential and fight for your dreams. There are moments people can worry about failure, but always success is at the end of the failure. Life is full of beauty. And notice it, notice the bumblebee, the small little child, the smiling face. Enjoy your life. Thank you, God bless.